Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and commercial real estate. My name is Lacey Labs, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Martin. In today's episode, we interview Mark and Karen Ackley, owners of NextDoor Photos, Susquehanna Valley. Mark and Karen's company offers photography and videography services of properties and real estate, as well as 3D models, virtual tours, floor plans, and more. They have worked together in business ventures for over 15 years and are passionate about connecting with people and impacting the world through creative entrepreneurial ventures that benefit society while creating a social impact. Tune into this episode to hear more about Mark and Karen's journey, the entrepreneurial experiences that they share, and what advice they would give to younger entrepreneurs and business owners. All right, Mark and Karen Ackley, welcome to Beyond the Deal. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and jump in. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you guys kind of met, your journey into business, and what you're doing with NextDoor Photos.
Absolutely. So I'll give a quick little piece, and then I know my wife, Karen, will probably take off and run with some different directions. But yes, we do build this company as a couple. So that's why we are both here today, is to be able to share. But yeah, as far as our backgrounds go, we both grew up in central Pennsylvania. We went to competing and very opposing high schools in Carlisle and Cumberland Valley. But Karen was actually attending a Young Life, which is a nonprofit and organization that teaches kids about the love of Jesus Christ. And it was pretty amazing because she was able to come to a bunch of events at Carlisle. We got to meet. Next thing you know, we end up both going to Messiah College, and that's when we realized that we were meant for each other, which was pretty incredible. And as far as our backgrounds too, so when it comes to business ownership, Karen comes from a family of all entrepreneurs. If you name a member of her family, chances are that person is either currently running a business or has run one in the past. Father's had his own practice in the medical field. Or her mother ran country craft store. Let's see, your older sister
flowers for weddings.
Does flowers for weddings. Older sister runs a cabinet refinishing business currently. A younger sister just started an interior design company. Younger brother works out of Lancaster and owns multiple companies in the coffee field and then in the service industry, the food service industry. So business ownership has always been something that has driven Karen. And then along with that too is our sports backgrounds. So we both are very competitive. We both grew up playing sports our entire lives. With Karen with volleyball, and for me it was soccer all the way through. So that's a little bit about our background, but now she'll fill in some of the holes.
No, that was it. I mean, I will say, can't forget about Molly too, because Molly definitely supports Colin. Colin has a financial firm, as is the investments, and Molly plays a big role in that. So she definitely has a mindset of it too. But I'm super grateful for how I was raised. My parents definitely instilled in us just a go fail and a mentality and learn from your mistakes. And I know when we bring ideas to him, he always kind of looks at it, and I love his feedback. And then he'll say, well, you can either do really well or it's not going to work, but you got to figure it out. And I love that about them. They've always been very supportive of whatever we've ever done.
It's amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. And as far as our actual degrees too, so I went to school for marketing. So I went to school for business, but I didn't really know what that was going to turn into, as I graduated and, we started our life together. And then Karen actually went to school for teaching and coaching. And so if you think about the blend of our two backgrounds, for me, it was really just in the business and the marketing field, just learning and, kind of growing that, those wings in my life. But then with Karen, it was, she wanted to be a teacher and she wanted to be a coach. She came right out of high school or right out of college, and she was doing those things, teaching in the Carlisle School District and coaching the varsity volleyball, the girls varsity volleyball team at Carlisle. And little did we know, like 15 years or so later, we would be launching this business that we're doing today. And then we also do have some other business experience running some other businesses with the Amway Corporation. We were and still are part of that business. We're not actively building it, but that has taught us a lot about business ownership, about how to work together, about things that we do well together, things that maybe we should, kind of separate and do, kind of stay in our lanes. But I think that's been extremely helpful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds like you guys are well positioned to be business owners. So how did you get started in the property photos thing? Like, kind of tell us about that transition. What led to you making the decision? What does that look like?
Yeah. So it was a little bit real quick about NextDoor Photos history, because I think that it's needed for it. But NextDoor Photos itself launched in 2015, and they started with 3 locations. But they realized really quickly that up in Michigan, and they realized really quickly that they would need to enlist some global editing partners, because realtors, this, they want things done like yesterday and turnaround time next day and everything else. So they did, but then the founders examined their process, and they realized really quickly that who they were outsourcing to was outsourcing, and people were being treated poorly and paid unfairly, and so it was just as far as business owners in general, that's something to encourage people is just, examine your process. I was grateful that they had done that, because then he was at Cebu in the Philippines and sat in a pew next to a guy who was in IT. And together they both have a heart for vulnerable people. And Sam Dharmapallis said, hey, I can help you with this. And that started our first global editing team in Cebu. And that one, his wife is a counselor. Sam's wife is a counselor. And what they did was that's one of the largest areas of human trafficking in the world. And all of NextDoor Photos editors are men and women who've been rescued from either human trafficking, labor trafficking, or other vulnerable people groups. So they partnered with nonprofits who do the extraction. And then his wife started the first counseling program. And then they partner with nonprofits who do the counseling. And then our editing teams provide the work, and we are the boots on the ground meeting the agents. So that's kind of the history of NextDoor Photos. It's not a franchise, it's joint equity. So it's a partnership. At that time they started with 3, then they continued to grow. And now there's about, I believe, around 67 locations. And how we had gotten connected was he loved what he was doing, loved who he was working with in 2019. He was in the media space, but our family needed to make a change. And so I was like, why don't you keep doing what you're doing, and I'll look at something. I'll do something in business, real estate maybe, or finance, because that was kind of what everyone was doing. And then within the week that I started looking, there's a gentleman who's a trustee at Messiah College, David Millery. Do you know him? If you don't, you need to know him. He's a great guy. But he started another editing team in Nairobi. And that's near one of the largest slums in the world, Kibera. And if you look up pictures, it's just, people are living on top of one another. But he's just the same thing. He has a heart for vulnerable people, and he lives in Dillsburg. And so he partnered with NextDoor Photos to start an additional editing team, and needed to find an owner. And both Mark and I, everything we've done has always been based around impact. We're very impact-driven individuals. And so the week that I started looking for something, 2 realtors and David Millery all called Mark and said, hey, you guys ought to do this. So it was totally thin threads. It was totally a God thing. We believe that everything happens for a reason. And we've just had so many things pointing in that direction. So that was November of 2019. We went to Michigan to get training in December, and we launched in January of 2020, and then COVID. Oh my gosh. But
we were talking about that in the office.
Yeah. Literally 2 months before COVID. And so the way we looked at it too was if the door continued to stay open, and this was the advice that her parents even gave too, as far as, is this the right thing? And so we started interviewing some of our friends. We started asking people in the real estate world, like, is there a need for this type of business? Do you think that there could be an opportunity here? And sure enough, the door just continued to stay open. And so we felt that God was saying, yes, this is something that I'm putting in front of you, and I believe you should take this and run with it. And as she said, and then COVID happened, and then we thought, wow, is this really, how our company is going to go here? And in the state of Pennsylvania, it was, real estate was non-essential, and there was all the political side of that. And I don't want to go into that, but it was more of a, okay, so now what do we do? And so we took those few months to just kind of refine our craft. We learned our equipment better. We figured out how to best service our clients. And, we made some phone calls and did some sales, but all the people that we were working with were also frustrated with the whole non-essential piece of it as well. So we had to be kind of careful with how it's not like hey, just wanted to check in and, see how you're doing. It was, we had to be careful and just tread lightly during that time. But, and in the meantime, we were still growing and working with the right people. And once the restrictions were taken away, we were able to hit the ground running again. So
all of that being said, we did not intentionally search for a photography business.
Right.
It found us for sure.
So you're coming up on 5 years.
Yeah.
Just about.
Do you feel like you blink some days?
I know. That's so true.
So there's a lot of technical skills in this, right? So I actually have a background in photography. I own my own portrait company doing family photography. But I know working with this equipment, if you don't know what you're doing, there's a learning curve. So did you guys do that before? Like, did you have the photography technical knowledge, or was this like...
So we learned it.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But then we also...
No. The answer is no.
To answer your initial question, no, we did not have a background in it. I could take some great pictures with my cell phone.
Sure.
But that was about it. I could use the automatic editing button on my phone and it would make any picture look amazing. But when it comes to actual photography, no. Yeah. Our background is business, teaching and coaching.
Right.
And the great thing about what we do, though, is we have the ability to hire media professionals in our community. Right. And we've been able to attract several really qualified photographers who help. But in the meantime, we also do go out to the field and shoot. And, our goal is not to be in that lane forever. But in the meantime, in fact, right before I came here, I had to go do a quick photo shoot of a townhome in Harrisburg. And that's what we do. Yep.
To add on that too, we know great people. Yeah. I think that is a big part of it. The first person that we went to was actually a girl in my sister's life group, Katie Brock, who is phenomenal photographer, and just asked her, hey, is this something we should do? Thin thread story. She was born in Cebu. She specifically went to tell the story of women who've been rescued from human trafficking through video. And her parents were missionaries there. And there was something else along with that. Oh, and her dad the week before said you should get into real estate photography. Oh, so once again, it was hey, this is the right thing. And so we knew the right people, and we knew we could hire the right people that could teach us those things. Difference is portrait photography. There's a lot of skill that goes along with that. We are very process people. Yep. If you can take that, and then real estate is very process in how it's done. So if you have an eye and you have some of that backing to go in and learn a process is something that we can do. So it was definitely jumping in full force and launching a business that we had to learn everything all at once. But it was fun, and now we love it. We really do enjoy the photography side. We've learned a lot, but we also have really skilled photographers on our team. There's another really thin thread story that I'm not going to tell now, but with our photographer who lived in Kenya. But it's just amazing how the team works together to get things done.
Yeah, that's amazing. It gives you opportunity to work with a lot of local people, right? And so I assume some of these people are full-time, but you probably have the opportunity to have people work whatever hours.
They're all
right. Like it's pretty,
all independent contractors. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have some that they open their schedule up for as many shoots as they can get, 4, 5, 6, even 7 in a day. And then we have a few that, they can do 1 or 2 in a week. And so we give them 1 or 2 in a week, and that's what they want. And they just want a few extra bucks, and they're great with their clients. They're great at the homes. These are people that are not just good photographers. Right. We need to make sure they go through our process of training and make sure that, they're respectful of the people's homes that because they're a guest in somebody's house. Yep. Last thing these people want is a photographer who's not being respectful or kind or, all those things that, if we have a guest at our house, I want them to treat my property the way that they should be. So those are really important pieces of our team.
Soft skills.
Yeah. I think that too is just, they are independent contractors, but in our training, half of what we do is capture. Half of what we do is really connection. Our team, and I think that is a differentiator with NextDoor Photos with our location at all the locations that I know at least, is just the service-minded aspect of it. It's one thing to take pictures and take them well, but it's a process once again. And once you learn a process, anyone can do that. But this piece of it is really important too. And not everyone is a good culture fit for that service-mindedness. And there's some times whenever it's just not a good fit for someone, and that's okay. But we do like the aspect of it being an independent contractor.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. So speaking of that, so this service element is really big, but for our listeners' sake and potential business for you guys, what are the products that you offer? Like, what do you guys do?
That's a great question, Lacey. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
No. So we, obviously the photography is kind of like our bread and butter. That's we get into the homes is like, all right, we're going to capture photos. But while we're there, floor plans are really, really popular now. People want to see, potential buyers and potential, companies that want to come in and, take ownership of a commercial property. They want to know what's the layout of this space. So we capture floor plans. The virtual products are also really popular too with the 3D modeling. We have multiple ways of capturing 3D models, multiple platforms, whether it's Zillow, Matterport. We even have our own company that our own, what's the word I'm looking for?
Platform.
Our own platform.
For a 3D tour.
For our own 3D tour. And it's basically the exact same platform. And we host it through our website, so the companies can come in and they can order a 3D model, and it literally gives potential buyers and, tenants an opportunity to see, what that actual space is like. We do twilight photography. Those are fun. We go to homes late at night and, those can be really cool, the way that those turn out. Videography, you name a type of video, we do. We do social media reels where we go in with a vertical orientation and capture properties. That's usually like a quicker kind of a pan through the house or the commercial space. We do walkthrough videos where we have an actual camera on a gimbal and we walk through the home. We do aerial photography, aerial videography, virtual staging. I'm probably missing a few things.
Yeah, no.
Virtual staging.
Virtual staging is a thing.
You put furniture in the pictures.
We virtually put furniture in, and it's a fraction of the price of real staging. It's different. Like if somebody knows that they're going to have a lot of foot traffic come through the door, staging may be a better option. But if somebody just wants photos to give potential buyers an opportunity to see what the space could look like, do it virtually. Just have some furniture put in, and with as long as it has the proper like shadows and a good layout, it's great. Like you can tell when there's fake stuff in a home. The virtual staging that our company does, I think, is pretty great.
Cool. Yeah.
What else?
So it's pretty. No,
there's a few more.
No, well, it's pretty much a one-stop shop, and I do think it's just for agents, whether they're commercial or residential, if they don't see something that's listed as an option, we're always open to those conversations. We're always studying the trends. What is going on? What can we do to make realtors' lives easier? Or what do they need? And so we are always open to those conversations of how we can expand to best support the people that we serve. And I think that, so there are custom options as well. But yeah, it's a one-stop shop for the most part.
We've created videos for soccer clubs. We've created videos for,
Don't like
a landscaping
that
company.
too much because
We don't make it, and we tell
How
people
your kids' teams, right?
but we have the equipment, we have the tools, we have the editing partners who can help make it happen, and it's fun. We have lots of random
So
opportunities.
you take the pictures and then you're uploading them and sharing them to someone in another country to help them have a job. And
goes through every shoot provides about 4 hours of paid work. And so it's a really cool process. Our team, the orders come in, we schedule it. Our team goes to captures, they upload, it's hands off, and then it goes to our editing team and it goes back to the agents the next morning.
it's really that fast.
It's really that fast.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's important too to note that we're paying fairly. We're not working with people and saying, hey, we're just going to see how little we can get away with paying. Because we would want nothing to do with a company like that. But to know that, not only are we making a financial impact, but it's, these are not just affecting these individuals, it's their families that we're having a positive impact on, and being able to provide the money, but then also in certain cases, the counseling, for the people who've been rescued from the trafficking. It's like they can't just go and start working a job and act like, okay, there's the Band-Aid, let's just fix that. It's there has to be the psychological component to this as well. And so for us to know that we're working with a company that cares about all those pieces, it helps us do what we do every day. It really does.
And we knew it was exciting for us to know that there would be impact. But now, after seeing the stories, hearing what's happening, it takes about and the Kibera location or the Nairobi location, where you have a little bit more connection with because David Millery's right here. But to know that it takes about 6 months for them to be working with the editing team there before they can move out of the slums. And so like hearing the stories of that happening, and then now that we're a couple years in, we've had the opportunity to be able to, on that end in Nairobi, they move them, so they interview them, see where they best fit. It's not just editing. Inawa AI is the location. They also have IT stuff. They have cybersecurity. They have other locations. So they kind of see where they fit best. And then so the editing is probably the easiest place to start. And then they move them to where they realizing, hey, it's not just this one skill. You can learn more than that. And then they go to the other areas. And now we have one of the areas that they can move to is what we call a BSA. It's a business support analyst. And they're supporting our local owners within NextDoor Photos. We have 2 individuals that we get to communicate with daily. We communicate with our editors, but it's not as often via Zoom, and it's most of the time through emails. But now our BSAs, every single day, we're communicating and connecting and hearing stories and getting to really see where things are going for them. And so it's just been really, that's really rewarding for us on this end.
And so those 2 individuals, but how they really help is they handle a lot of our operations. So even like while we're sitting here right now, we may be getting emails, we may be getting phone calls, text messages, and we have people from our team who've been trained and are doing a phenomenal job, but they basically keep the company moving and answering emails and helping to answer text messages and support us as we're continuing to support them. So it's as you can see, it's kind of a neat connection where the better we can all move forward, the better the whole company will be. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's something that your partnership with NextDoor Photos, the bigger organization, enables for you guys. Yeah.
And it's more of a service too. So they don't, a lot of times it is something where they don't want to say that they're going on vacation or that they're sick or something because they may lose their job.
You're right.
But now that if they're learning cross learning the different skills, that somebody else can step in and fill in if needed. And
that's awesome. I didn't know any of that part of what you guys are doing. So thanks for sharing that. That's really, really cool.
We like to lead with the fact that the quality's great. The service is wonderful, but there's a cherry on top.
Yeah, there is.
Of the impact piece.
That's good.
How is it, I was going to say, how is it with you 4 boys? I mean, are they interested in the business? They come help out? Have they learned some photography or are they too little?
They're not
the
interested.
2 older ones, they're 16, 14, 10, and 8. The 16 and 14-year-old, they've been on several job sites with us. You know, they come, they'll help turn the lights on or, open the blinds up, things like that. But they're still a little bit young yet to really grasp it. But we do have opportunities. We have an intern right now. He's 17 years old that we've brought him to some different properties with us, and he's learning how to capture a floor plan, and he's interested in the media space. So we're like, you know what, this would be a neat opportunity for him to see what real estate media looks like. But right now, or our little boys will come in the car with us and, get to watch me fly the drone. That's kind of their involvement.
I don't think they're as interested in the capture piece, but they are, 2 of them specifically are really dabbling in the entrepreneurial realm. One of them with magic. All week he's been out front doing magic tricks for the neighbors, and he's getting so good. But the way he interacts with people is just wonderful, and I'm so thrilled just how he's learning those communication skills. And I can see that side of it through him. And then another one, our oldest, has his own 3D printing company, and so he's doing stuff in that space. And I think he's learning a lot through hearing, I hope, listening to our conversations and everything through that. But it's just fun to be able to watch. I don't know if this will be the field they go into, but I do think they'll dabble in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's good.
So you guys are speaking about impact on the kind of the back end of the company. What about on the front end? Like for your users, do you have any stats on like using you guys, the quality of your product that you offer? What does that do for your realtors? What kind of results are they seeing from using you guys' products?
Yeah. And I think that having an editing team that is taught a specific process, you have to remember they're not coming from these extensive backgrounds. A lot of people think that it's a benefit to come from extensive editing backgrounds. This situation, they're coming in and they're learning what they need to learn in order to edit well. which means on the capture side, our photographers, when they come in, we talk a lot about being humble, and they may already know real estate photography. They may have had some great experiences, but we have to capture in a specific way so that our editors can edit well. And in doing that, I think that one of the things that does set our team apart is there's more of a consistency in end product. Despite the fact, sometimes when people hear we have 10 photographers, they're like, oh, well, I'm getting somebody different. The service end of it, we want to keep that service mindedness high. And so we teach that too. But also the capture side, they're independent contractors, but we train them in our capture. It's a certain process, it's certain settings, and it's maybe a little bit different. And we did have one photographer come in one time and he was like, well, I can edit this well. I said, yes, you can edit this well, but you're not editing. So we have to capture it this way so that we can have consistency in end product. And I think that is something that is, as far as what they get, we also, once again, growing in numbers nationally, it has helped us to be able to create some really great deals. We have people specifically studying the trends. So one thing, buyers are looking for properties that have floor plans. Sellers are looking for agents that are offering floor plans. And so with our partnerships there, we're able to create a really good deal where right now it's $160 for a standard size property for photos, a floor plan, a listing website, and a Twilight conversion. All of that as a package option, which definitely sets us apart.
Yeah.
The fact that we are a one-stop shop and have so many products where it's really challenging for an individual photographer to do that is something that would definitely, the team aspect of it is something that does set us apart as well.
And I would say too, the goal for our team is for agents to not know, let's say the agent is unable to make it to the property. We don't want that agent to even know who it was that was at the property, because we want them to realize that our entire team, we all capture the same way. We all,
like that.
The editing is the same way. And yes, there are some agents who would request a specific, photographer, maybe just because they connect really well with that individual.
Sure.
And in those cases, yes, we say, we'll do our best to put this person on this property. But at the end of the day, we really want it to be, hey, no matter who you get, you're going to find somebody who is going to take great images and who's going to treat your, the sellers well and give them the respect that they deserve. So
I like the consistency a lot.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, we'd love to hear more about your entrepreneurial kind of journey. Like, what's it been since starting day one? Entrepreneurship's hard, right? You guys are partnered with NextDoor, which is probably an awesome partnership to have. You have family who knows a lot about entrepreneurship, but what has the journey been like for you guys, and what kind of have you learned in the process?
Do you want me to take that one, or do you want to go with that first?
You can start it.
Oh, great. That's actually going to bring up point number one, is building it as a couple. There are different things that we do as a couple that we've learned. In some cases we work great together, and in some cases it's better for us to kind of, like the phrase of stay in your lane, not in a rude or disrespectful way, but that's true. When we're building it as a couple, there are certain things that we've learned. I would say, especially over the last year and a half, where we realized I think it's best if Karen is the one who's responding to emails, and she's the one that's really receiving the phone calls and making that side of the company. Whereas for me, I've kind of built my own kind of situation where now I'm kind of a lead photographer, and I'm the one that's getting into several homes throughout the day. And, there are times where we work really great as far as, going to events. Tomorrow we're going to a Real Producers event, and we'll have an opportunity to have our team be recognized in front of, a couple hundred different realtors that are coming out. Our company is receiving some type of an award. I'm not even sure what it is yet, but we've had a nice partnership with Real Producers. And so, we get to celebrate our company tomorrow in front of a bunch of wonderful people. Yeah. But the entrepreneurship journey is one that is constantly like growing and adapting and pivoting to the market. It's nice to have the backing of the NextDoor Photos company, but when it comes to the actual boots on the ground operation here in South Central Pennsylvania, that's the stuff that we have to just kind of have conversations around. Like, where do we need to pivot? Where do we need to maybe make some adjustments here or there. But as a whole, we've learned, and we've made mistakes along the way. That's for sure. We looking back, there's things that we probably would change, but at the end, I think everything happens for a reason, and the growth has happened at the rate that it's happened for a reason. If we had nailed, if we had landed some of these big deals right at the beginning, I don't know if we would have been able to handle some of the volume. Right. But it's interesting, like even, some of the biggest teams that we work with today, if they had agreed to work with us from day one, we would have probably been...
We would have figured it out.
We would have figured it out, but it would have been like extremely challenging to make that work.
Yeah, no, I think like as far as the journey, our first month in business, it was November we saw it, December we went, January we started. We had 3 shoots in January.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of fun to look back and see, just about 5 years now. Yeah. And we own about 18.5, I think, % of the market share in all of South Central Pennsylvania, which seems like a low number, but it's not. That's pretty big number. We can grow. There's room for growth for sure, but we've really come a long way. And I think that's where a lot of the challenges have occurred is we are continuing to grow and scale. And as we continue to grow and scale, staying ahead of where the scale part. So we have these goals and then we get to here and we're like, okay, we can breathe. And then we're like, oh, we're growing more. And that's not a bad problem to have, but we do want to stay ahead of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is something where we have since the beginning, the very first thing that we did when we were like, who has the largest business? And it was Toby Blom. And so this young kid who has this huge business, and we grabbed hold of him. I remember we played ping pong just to get him talking, and we listened, and it was really fun to see. And I think he had like 75 shoots in a day or something. Yeah, wow. We took a picture of his calendar.
Took a picture of his calendar because it was so impressive to us that we were like, how does one company have... Yeah, it was 77 shoots in one day that his company had. But he had a team of, I think, 13 or 14 photographers. Okay. Yeah. So he was several years down the road from where, this was several years ahead of where we were. So we're like, we want that. Yeah. And then it came down to what do we need to do in order to achieve that?
Yeah. So from the beginning, we kind of grabbed a hold of him as a coach, a non-official coach, and asked him questions when we ran into stuff. And we had coaches throughout, and none of them really were shoulder to shoulder in the game. They were outside of what we do. And they came and then they went, and then they came and they went. And I personally, there were people that were asking us, I'm so sorry. Like we went through 9 coaches, I think, in 2 years. I loved it. All of them did different things, and we gained knowledge from each and every one of them, but we listened to Toby anyway. We grabbed people that had fruit on the tree. And then it was funny because he eventually officially became our coach. And so it was just, and I think that is something important to have somebody that you're looking to offer some advice. And it doesn't have to be a paid situation. You find people and you ask them questions, find people that are where you want to be, whether it's financially, spiritually, and just circle yourself with the right people. And I think that we did that. And I think that another challenge is we have a huge territory. We started off with a territory that is like 2 times larger than some of the other territories. With what we do,
like the
vastness.
Okay.
So I think just kind of mapping out and figuring out how to scale well when you're hiring photographers. They're independent contractors, so you're paying them per shoot. Or per product. Right. And so we care about our team. And so just to kind of create the vision of here's where we're going. And if you want to be open to filling a calendar, here's what we've proven that we can do locally. And we're going to be doing this. But I think that has been a challenge in figuring out how to scale that. And once again, I don't know. I think we're doing a good job, but it's just there's probably better ways to do it and different. We're learning and growing.
Something kind of funny with that, as far as our territory. Is that what you're about to ask? How far?
Yeah.
I can tell you how far because I am usually the one that drives to the edges of our territory and beyond. Yeah. We were up at Braystown the other day. We've been to the Poconos. So we really cover like 7 or 8 counties. It's Cumberland, Dauphin, Perry, Adams, Franklin, Lancaster, Lebanon, and I feel like I'm missing one in there.
York?
Schuylkill County, York County.
Wow.
But now we're also starting we were looking into a kind of like a soft expansion to hit the northern part of Maryland. There's a few counties down in Maryland on the northern edge that we've had a lot of shoots in Westminster. We've been down to Hagerstown a number of times, and Frederick. So
kind of like a 2-hour radius.
It's basically a 2-hour radius. So what happens is I'm the one that's making these trips because we don't really want our media professionals to have to go too far. So I just hop in the car and I realize, all right, this one's going to take an hour and a half to get to, but I usually put on either some good music or I listen to some podcasts. There's a pastor I listen to out of Virginia that I love listening to his, scriptures and the interpretation that he has. So it helps pass the time as I'm in the vehicle. But so to Karen's point, the scaling piece of it is I would say that's a challenge that we currently have and that we're figuring out is, do we find the work and then find the photographer, or do we find a great media professional in an area and then do we create the work for that individual? So we're
or both
figuring that out. So we're kind of doing both at the same time right now.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Always keeping our eyes open.
Yeah.
And always open to conversations. So
yeah.
It's a good attitude.
Yeah. So what are your future plans in business? You guys, it sounds like what you're saying is that you're growing, you're expanding, you're looking at some new territories. Is there anything else that you guys kind of are looking at saying like, this is something we want for our business. This is how we see our future?
Yeah. Well, just in general, we own 18.5% of the market share. I know we want to own 50% of the market share. We have a soft expansion towards the Maryland. We do want that to officially be an expansion, to have photographers spread out so that we don't have to send them more than 25 miles unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
We do want to get more on the business instead of in the business. I know Mark's role right now, he's driving a lot, and to grow some of those areas to the point where we can, and I think that has been one of the benefits of having both of us building the business, is that we can, with such a vast territory, our strategy has been to grow it until we have enough work where it makes sense to hire a media professional in that area. So I think another goal would be that he's not driving as much. And then eventually we do have some more long-term goals of possibly another location more south, and just not sure what that will look like yet, but we are open to conversations, and we've started some of those conversations and how to prepare well to make that happen. And one of the ways we can prepare well to make that happen is to not be in our business as much.
Yeah, to find ways to hand the actual
can be hard
photos.
Yes, because we don't want to lose. We love the connection.
Yes,
and so we are being very intentional about how do we continue to grow without losing connection. And so I don't know if we've mastered that yet. And so therefore, I don't think we'll ever be the biggest. And I'm okay with that, because there are some things like we're not willing to compromise.
And I think
I'm okay with that.
It's important to note too, there's a lot of great photography companies in this area, and so something we've always set out from the beginning too is we're never going to badmouth our competition. We're never going to talk down on our, because we're in the same industry, and if we're working with somebody and for whatever reason they have an experience and they want to go work with somebody else, we want to refine our game and figure out, where did we mess that up? How can we make that better? We're not a perfect company.
Right.
Last I checked, when we signed the form, I said we're going to launch a company. We were people. So with people in the company, it's already going to be imperfect from the beginning.
Yeah.
But our goal is always to do the best that we can and always provide the best service. And, we have people that we know are working with another photography company. And if we find out maybe we're doing our best to do some marketing and sales in a certain brokerage, and we find out they're working with whoever that other company is, we always say, that's an awesome company, or, that's a great guy, that's awesome. Well, if anything ever changes, or if you ever need a backup, feel free to give us a shout. We'd be happy to support you then. So we're not in an industry of, it's not a cutthroat, talking down on our competition. I don't think that that's really going to help anybody in the long run. So we always just speak positively, and we always want to, again, provide the best service. And hopefully people will continue to stay with us because they see we're willing to go above and beyond. And if, we miss a bathroom or we miss something, we have a make it right mentality. And from the beginning, whether it's us that are doing that or one of our photographers, one of our newest photographers, they understand if you miss something, there's a good chance that you're going to have you go back.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So let's talk bathrooms.
Sure.
I think pictures make every place look amazing. But oh my gosh, the number of toilet seats I see up.
Oh, tell her about the award. I know where you're going with
I
this.
can't stand that.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a while
Like
there.
literally,
we
you
had-
can't just kick it shut. I mean,
For a while, we had the Flush Award, we called it. And it was, and granted, we didn't have to give it too many times, but there have been, right as photographers are onboarding, there have been a couple of times, and now we use those as examples and tell them about the Flush Award so that they don't get it.
We don't want the award.
We don't want the award. But-
Zero.
Yeah, zero.
I will
Yeah.
say, in some commercial spaces, though, in like
Yeah.
certain
Some
toilets
don't.
have the ability to
Oh,
close the
yeah.
upper
Yeah.
lid. So I usually have to call my wife and say, just so you know, I couldn't close the toilet lid on this.
But I tried.
I did the best that I could.
That's all you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been one or two times where it's came through and our editors were able to make it look as though the seat was down.
I'm so
Is
happy
that-
for the effort.
Oh,
Thank you.
that I know my heart skips a beat if that ever comes through. I'm like,
so
no.
funny.
My mom was a residential realtor and put all 5 of us through private Christian colleges. And so I've always had an affinity for looking at residential houses. It's amazing to me, walk that door. Even if we sell like a multifamily,
Yeah.
the different ways people live, it's unbelievable.
It is.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can
So
go from a $2 million property to a tenant occupied hoarder's home. And we have had some really sad situations that we've had to go through and take pictures of. And
You can't really post. You can always kind of tell because they don't really post any inside
Yeah.
pictures. It's like
Mhm.
we were looking at
Mhm.
a place yesterday,
Yeah.
a 4-unit. It's like, okay, there's no inside pictures. That's telling me
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
something else along with that too is, our photographers, we tell them you're going into a home and it can be the best day of their lives. It can also be the absolute worst.
Yeah.
A
Right.
family member has
Yeah.
passed away, or they're getting a divorce, or just so tread lightly, communicate well, love on people, but tread lightly on those conversations. And there are going to be times whenever people want to open up, and there's going to be times whenever they do not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You never know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So interesting.
Yeah.
To that point, though,
You went from toilet seats to that.
Yeah.
But it's
Like,
true,
sure.
right?
Serious there.
Yeah.
But the $2.5 million property, in our eyes, we're going to take just as good of photos of that as we are the $80,000 property. And for us, or to these sellers and to the agents, it's their listing, it's their home.
Mhm.
So we still give them the same type of, time and effort.
Mhm.
Some of the homes that have a really strong aroma, we may get through it a little quicker than others, but some of the houses you go to are like, wow, how do people live in these conditions?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're there.
See it
and
all.
You do
we-
see it all.
Yeah.
do the
Now,
best we
if
can.
someone wants to use your services, if they go to your website, are these packages all there that people can see them?
Yep. The very first ones, we call them the NDP Essentials. And for the most part, we mainly work with residential realtors, and that is the package that most residential realtors want, is the NDP Essentials. And that's the one that includes photos, floor plan, listing website, and a Twilight conversion. Right below those package options, it says view additional services. And I understand too, for commercial properties, there are some commercial agents that want specific packages that are not built out yet. And that's something we are always open to conversations about, building packages that work well for agents that we work with. And so it's custom built around what their needs are. And I'm not sure what, so I know for residential, it's averages about 10 properties a year that they list. And I know it's different and it's also different depending on the market too, I'm
varies.
sure.
It does vary a lot. And lately, we seem to have a lot of confidential listings
Yeah.
where we can't really
Can't put anything out there.
put anything out there. Several.
wow.
We also have
So-
a lot of land, which is just more challenging.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're just grabbing stuff off of Google Earth
Mhm.
images, because what do you show with land other than just, an
Right.
aerial of the property? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah. So
the
we can build package options around what's needed.
yeah.
And it's nice too, because you have the initial. So let's say from the residential piece, the agent knows they want that essentials package. They want 25 photos. They want a floor plan, Twilight conversion, a listing website. But let's say they also want some aerials, and they want one shot media reel. Well, they can just easily click on a button and it adds those specific custom, pieces to their order, and it's the add-on pricing, so they get a discounted rate. And, we have a number of agents that just love going onto our site and saying, okay, well, what for this property, there's a nice lake in the background or a nice pond in the back. I want 10 aerial shots. All right, cool. We just check that button, but they may not want aerials for their next property. So it's not like we're going to build it out specifically for each agent.
To have 100 different products or
right.
packages.
There could be so many combinations, but I think a lot of our agents love the fact that they can really just customize each specific shoot to what they want.
And there's live scheduling. So you can see our availability and be able to book in accordingly.
Does the realtor usually meet you?
I would say, it's probably about 50-50. And there are some, we have a pre-shoot checklist that helps prepare a property well for photos. And I would say there are some agents that, when you're going to the property, it's going to be prepared well. And there are some times whenever it may not be. But I would say it's 50-50 in actually showing up to the property.
But they don't need to.
As long as do you get locked out a lot? That's another pet peeve in my industry.
Our nemesis. Yes. So many times it's either the wrong code or they forgot or somebody took the key out and it's not there. So, along with that, we do pay our photographers well as well. So if they go to a property and they can't get access to the property, they've gotten to the property, so we pay them. And so even if they can't get in, so that we do have a rescheduling fee for the purpose that we do pay our photographer to go to the property. And so it's a rescheduling fee of $50. But if somebody, we know also real estate changes last minute all the time. And so even up until the day of, if something changes and the photographer's not to the property, we don't charge a rescheduling fee because we realize your world is like that, which means our world is like that.
Yeah, right.
Have you noticed with interest rates going up and prices going up and there's so much less inventory, like residentially, have you noticed a big shift in your business or not really?
It's funny you asked that because July was our biggest month since we launched our company 4.5 years ago.
That's awesome.
So even with market doing what the market's doing as a company, because of the amount of agents that we work with, we have not noticed a downside at all. Literally, this past month was, and we were even gone for a week and a half of that. So it was neat to know that we could go on a vacation, spend amazing time with our family, and then have a company that's still running and doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That being said, our regulars, we have seen a drop in each individual agents, the number of listings that they have done. We've seen a drop there, but we have been gaining a lot of new clients.
Great.
So, which is once again that growing to scale. You feel like you've met your mark, and you're like, wait a second. I'm not complaining one bit. It's just always staying ahead of that curve because we don't want to drop in service and we don't want to drop in everything else too. So.
And I know I've mentioned this is a result of it just, again, God opening up the doors and building the right relationships, helping Karen, just kind of guiding her through the phone calls and the brokerage meetings and the different people that we're talking to throughout these last several months has opened up the doors to the different brokerages that are saying, hey, you know what? Here's 20 new agents that we want you to start working with. And it's awesome. Literally everything's opening up at the time at a rate that I believe God knows that we can handle.
So that's good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on, guys. We have a closer question that we ask everybody that I would love to have you guys both kind of respond to. And that is, if you could go back and start your business journey or your career over again, but keep all the knowledge that you've gained from doing it for the number of years you have, what would you do differently?
Go ahead.
I think you're going to pass it. And I even saw that prep question. You sent that to us, so we should be prepared for this one. Oh, man. I would say, I touched on this earlier, but for us to kind of figure out our lanes quicker, I think would have helped us. Not that me learning how to do all that stuff was bad in the beginning, but I think for us to have one person kind of like steering the ship from the beginning would have been, I think there would have been some more advantages to that than us both trying to figure out how to run the company as a couple. But again, we work great together. It's just more knowing who's going to be responding to certain things and who's going to be handling certain aspects of the business. It helped when we had one person be like that individual. And eventually I'm going to get back into that lane. But for right now, I think it would have helped if we had that a little bit more defined in the beginning.
I think for me, I love problem solving. I think that, and the whole relationship builder opportunity whenever things don't go exactly right. Not that I love problems, but I like figuring those things out. I do enjoy. And so I think that I don't build systems and processes around those things though. So I think looking back at the beginning, where we're at now, everything that we do now has to have a process around it. And I wish I had that mentality at the beginning, because when we started to get to the point where we have a virtual assistant or BSA, somebody else doing some of these things, I was like, oh, well, I handle it this way with this client because this is what works best. And this is what they like. And this is what we can still maintain that connection and to do that well with maintaining the connection. How do we do that? And we can do that well by taking great notes, by communicating well, and by developing a process around all of that. So I think looking at that from the beginning, if you treat your business like a multi-million-dollar business from the beginning, thinking about every single thing that you do and developing a process around each and every one of those things, it's so much easier to tweak an existing process than it is to look back and rewrite everything. And so now we are in the process of processing every single thing and having it documented in a certain platform that it's easily navigatable, easy to navigate. And so looking back, I think that would be something for sure that I would do from the beginning. I did it in my own way, but my own way wasn't documented.
Makes it a lot harder to train somebody else.
Right.
Awesome. Well, Mark, Karen, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you guys so much for inviting us out. This was fun.
Absolutely. Awesome. That was Mark and Karen Ackley sharing their insights on entrepreneurship and real estate media. For more information on the Ackleys, their company NextDoor Photos Susquehanna Valley, or to learn more about SVN Latus, click the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Deal.